because of the MMA experience that I gathered, I feel like I acquired a base knowledge on how to make people super uncomfortable all the time. And if I can keep your mind thinking about how uncomfortable you are, then I can create my windows to jump through, you know? Because jiu-jitsu is like a window jumping game, right? You're like kind of in front of the guard, and then you create the opening and you pass and you jump through that window. It was a hobby, I just went, did class every day, no expectation to ever get anywhere or become anything with it. And I always got people always saying to me, even from like early on, like, hey man, you're really good. I think you can make it in this. You should be teaching, like you should be an instructor, because you know how to explain well what you're doing, and you can see what you're doing, differently. And I'd be like, kind of brush it off, because I was like, man, I gotta pay my bills. Because at 19, I had become a dad, became a father very early on, and I was like, I gotta pay bills. I gotta put food on the table, feed my children, feed my child, and I gotta live and survive and pay the gym and be more creative with your feet, because all of you are doing this still. But we forgot that we learned this. And we forgot that we learned this. I always never really took to it until my head instructor at the time, Pablo Popovich, who was the guy who gave me white to black. He's like, hey man, have you ever thought of opening a gym? And I'm like, at that moment it got kind of real, because I was like, this guy's got a gym and he's asking me if I want to open a gym, like he must see something that I don't, And I was like, no, I never thought about it. He's like, would you like to? And I'm like, yeah, one day. He goes, one day when? I said, I don't know, I don't even know how to get that started. He goes, you want to open a gym with me? And I'm like, sure. We put it together. I was a contractor. I used to do general contracting, so I would do like kitchens, bathrooms, floors, painting, woodwork. Basically, I still know how to do all those things. So he's like, we'll rent the place and you put it together, and then you start to work there. I'm like, okay. And he's like, you can work during the day and do your job, and at night you can teach. And I'll get somebody to run the gym during the day, so that you're not there all day long trying to run the gym. And I'm like, all right, this makes sense. And we did that for 3 years together, me and him, and eventually at the end of 3 years, the gym started doing very well. I was competing, and I started to kind of make my way through jiu-jitsu. Started to do some big things, competitions and fighting, and I started I dove deep into it. I had my regular job during the day, and at night I started to realize, I was like, oh, I can make this. I can really do something with this, I can get further into jiu-jitsu and MMA than I am now, So I started to really put in the work and chase this dream with like real expectations, and I just applied myself the way I do and everything else I do. I just worked really hard for it, and at the end of 3 years, I was like, hey, I want to do my own thing, and I started running the gym with my wife, and we, gotten real far at this point, between that moment and now, my kids have grown, both my children are competing. I've competed in, I think, every event that's major in the world, between jiu-jitsu and MMA.
first match, Servio Tulio, who is the Brazilian ADCC trials winner, and then second match was Celso Vinicius, who was multiple-time world champion, and just tough guys. Just finished facing Dante Leon, who beat Lucas Lepre yesterday, and it was a great match. I know Dante for many years, a good kid, good person, and just a hard-fought match. I felt like I was superior on the wrestling. I was able to get in some good shots and be more aggressive, and get the nod to move to the finals. I've been focusing 100% on Jiu-Jitsu. As years before, I used to focus on MMA and Jiu-Jitsu, and I kind of just put MMA in the back seat, and I've been basically focusing all my time on Jiu-Jitsu and keeping healthy. Being smarter. As I get older, I want to be I want to be doing the right things. The things that are going to help me become better, not only just as a human, but as an athlete.
It requires determination, and it requires to be truthful, thinking outside the box. I think a lot of people think just like everybody else. If you're doing what everybody else is doing, you're probably going to be just like everybody else. And I've set a lot of trends in the sport. Over the course of the years I've been training. Some things I've done that people have frowned upon. Some things I've done that people have looked at and said, "Oh, I can use that. Like, I'm going to use this in my game." I'm gonna take a little bit of this and then pour into my style. You're gonna do 3 burpees and back to swing. 3 burpees, back to swing. And then when 1 minute ends, you do 3 burpees and you get back to the kettlebell and you count. The goal is to get to 100 the fastest you can get to 100. So I feel for me has been always trying to be different, and be creative and be just doing something that nobody else is doing. Every time I get a chance, I'm like, you know what, everybody's doing this, I'm definitely not gonna do that. And I feel if you want to be the best in anything, you have to have that kind of mindset where you have to have some sort of creativity to reinvent what everybody else is doing and do it just a little bit different. If you look at anybody who's ever been great at anything, what makes them great is that they can do something that everybody else can't, and usually that comes from a lot of repetition and practice and trying to be different. You got to put yourself to the grind. It's hard. It's not easy. Not every day is going to be the same. Some days you're going to have terrible days, some days you're going to have good days, but you got to have the mindset to just keep pushing and work to get better, and press through even the worst days possible, and just put in the work. I have a very set schedule, that I follow. I try to be very respectful to my body because I'm getting older and I don't want to fall apart and break. So I feel like resting is just as important as training. If you don't rest properly, if you don't get enough sleep, if you don't, eat right, if you don't, do extra little things in the mix to recover, you're gonna fall apart, you're gonna break. And if you break, then, you don't get to that next spot, the next goal in your journey. So every break you take because of injuries, right? It's like you take 3 months out, then it takes you 6 months to get better, to get back to where you were. So it's very important that you take care of your body so that you prevent injuries. And when you start to feel that something's happening, that something's off, go get it fixed. Find a professional, go get a doctor, go get a chiropractor, go get a massage, go get, whatever it is, go get an IV, go get, figure out what it is you gotta do and fix it. Because if you keep fighting through it and you just brush it off, I'm gonna keep working, and you end up messing it up and you get worse, So you just gotta be dedicated and be committed and have a purpose and set goals. I think goals are so important. I think not enough people set goals. Like, you gotta have a goal. You can't just spin the hamster wheel over and over again and not get anywhere. You gotta spin the wheel and think like, all right, in 3 months, 6 months, I have to be there and I have to do this. You know, there's one thing that I've done very well over my life is I've set little goals, small goals towards big goals, you know, and that's it. You know, if you stay dedicated, you stay committed, you do your training, you make sure you rest and you set goals, you can get really far.
Hey guys, I just want to let you all know about my new Patreon page, which is full of exclusive Jiu-Jitsu video content, a lot of which has never been seen before. So I was recently going through all of my hard drives. I've probably got about 50 from the years and years of traveling the world filming, and there's some really cool Jiu-Jitsu footage on there, so I thought it would be a good idea to upload it all to a Patreon page for everyone to just browse through and watch whenever they like. Right now it's set up at only $5 a month. So far there's about 50 videos on there, but going forward I'm going to be posting on there every week, and my plan is to get hundreds and hundreds of cool Jiu-Jitsu videos on there. By subscribing to the Patreon page, you'll also be helping support me make new Jiu-Jitsu films going forward, which will be free on my YouTube channel. So if you're interested and would like to support me and my work, please follow the link below in the YouTube description. Also, please don't forget to like this video. It'll really help with the tricky YouTube algorithm, and it'd be great if you could subscribe to my channel as well. Thank you.